As you sow, so shall you reap. The more one thinks about that great truth, the more one would like to see it emblazoned on the walls of schoolrooms, boardrooms, the agencies of government, and as a periodic television message along with radio spots and appropriate outdoor advertising. Anyone who's been an adult for any appreciable length of time can assess the extent and quality of his or her sowing by the simple expedient of taking inventory of his or her harvest. Our harvest at any point in our lives is the total input from our world. It is represented by our family, our spiritual life, the friends we've acquired, the attitude of our co-workers toward us, the place in which we live, the things we own, and, of course, our financial return. Our harvest, at any given time, is the total of what we have accumulated and are receiving from the world in which we're participating, and it is, of course, dependent upon the extent and quality of our efforts and service. As we sow, so we reap. Cause and effect. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. You needn't bother to look for exceptions to that rule. There aren't any. The great law does not deviate for anyone. If your grandfather left you $300 million after taxes, you would still be subject to the great law of cause and effect. You would be happy or miserable, or a combination of both, and you would be successful or unsuccessful as a person, dependent solely on the causes you set in motion. As you would sow, so would you reap all the years of your life. If you sow friendship, you will receive friendship in return. If you sow love, you will receive love in return. If you sow that which is good and beneficial to all concerned, your harvest will be good and beneficial to you. But in all cases, it is we who must set the law in motion, or in cases where the law is set in motion by others, it will be our response as a participant that will keep it going or stop it dead in its tracks as far as we are personally concerned. I've long used the metaphor of the wood stove. We must supply the wood and strike the match if we desire heat in return. To sit in front of a cold stove and demand that it supply heat first before we'll take any action is to sit in front of a cold stove forever. A what's-in-it-for-me attitude attempts to preempt heat from our wood stove before bothering to supply the wood and light the fire. People say, "I need a job," or "I need work." Here, once again, we have the cold stove metaphor, the childish acquisitiveness. How different it would be if the same people said, "I know I can be of service to the people of this community. Now, what can I do best that will do the best possible job of serving these people and still be a service that I'll enjoy providing?" Here we have the wood and the striking match, at least in inchoate form. We're on the right track. The distinguished Dr. Albert Einstein was once asked, "Doctor, why are we here?" He turned to his questioner in surprise that he had asked so elementary a question and replied, "We're here to serve other people." Of course, we're here to serve. Everything that we ever receive and from which we will derive special pleasure and joy will come to us as a result of our having served. It's the key to a happy marriage and a happy family. It's the key to a happy organization of any kind. Here's the answer to the question that bothered me as a youngster. Why do some people earn more money than others when they work about the same amount of time? In fact, there's a small percentage of people whose earnings bear little or no relation to the time spent working. Why is that? It has to do with the nature of their service, coupled with the ancient law of supply and demand. A man with the talent to pitch 20 or more winning baseball games or bat over 300 is going to be paid great sums of money during the time he can perform such game-winning feats. That's because there are very few like him. Every team wants him, and he can demand top dollar. He's a star. He entertains millions of fans. Entertains equals serves. For many years, and perhaps earns a place in the Hall of Fame. Lloyd Webber writes hit musicals. He wrote the Cats score and the music for Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, Jesus Christ Superstar, and Evita. So he has a 67-acre Berkshire estate sporting a 40-room mansion and a Mayfair London duplex and more money than he knows what to do with. He's entertained served millions, and will no doubt continue to do so as he makes his astonishing talent available to the world. Turn what you have into something hundreds, thousands, or even millions of people can use and or enjoy, and you may purchase fabulous personal things too. As we sow, so shall we reap. If our sowing serves great numbers of people, our harvest will reflect that service. What do you love to do? What can you do that will earn you a lot of money even when you're playing golf or out on your boat? What do you love to do that can serve others without your having to be there personally? How can you beat the personal service requirement of so many jobs? If being a first-class waiter in a first-class restaurant brings you into daily contact with friends you've made over the years and keeps you active and young and you love it, stay with it. Take good care of your feet and enjoy. Nothing is more satisfying than first-class people doing first-class jobs. We need all we can get, and we'll pay them well. You can be in a personal service line of service, or you can produce something that will make you wealthy or provide you with an excellent income, whether you continue to work or not. The choice is yours. Yes, the choice is yours to make. That's your part of the bargain. You don't have to have the unique talent of a 20-game winning pitcher or a 300 hitter or the special talent of a Lloyd Webber to become a millionaire. What is it that you do best? What do you most enjoy doing? Chances are there's a yawning opportunity lurking in there somewhere. I found my specialty. Now, what's yours? That's your part of the bargain. That's your responsibility. But your rewards all the years of your life will be in precise proportion to your service. You are here to serve others just as they serve you. How can you maximize your service? How can you serve not only your regular customers, but perhaps the people in your profession as well? I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I woke and saw that life was duty. I acted, and behold, duty was joy. That little poem by Rabindranath Tagore, the Calcutta poet, is what it's all about. The successful man or woman is the person who can say, this is the goal I'm working toward, and this is the way I'm going to get there. And when I reach that goal, I'll have others by that time, and I'll use this same system, improved by then, to reach those goals as well. Can you say that? If not, you still have some in-depth thinking and self-examination to work on, and don't despair. That kind of personal maturity comes to different people at different stages of their lives. Let me tell you how a friend of mine and his wife, working together, became millionaires. They began by rebuilding automobile engines. They both worked at it, and Beryl took care of the growing family. But the deeply embedded grease in their hands became a problem. They couldn't get them clean, especially Beryl, so they began experimenting, trying to solve a problem with different materials that would clean away the deeply embedded black grease and not destroy her hard-working hands at the same time. They began experimenting with different kinds of cleaners and different kinds of creams for the protection of skin. And one day, after many experiments, they managed to put together a product that did the job. It actually cleaned the hands and kept them soft and comfortable. It worked beautifully for both of them. And so they let a friend with the same problem try their concoction. It worked for him too, and he and his wife raved about the product. Mervyn and Beryl called the product Flight and began selling it all over South Africa. That's where my friends live. They were wonderfully successful, although they had to come up with an entirely new way of distributing and selling their product. In each town in the country, they recruited young women to call on service stations and garages, wherever people worked with dirty machinery. The young women would demonstrate the product and take orders. They were happy with their commissions, the customers were happy with the new product, and Beryl and Mervyn, who were now mixing the stuff by the ton, were happy with their profits. They became so successful that a big cleansing product company bought their company from them for 5 million rand. That was about $5 million at the time. So Mervyn and Beryl deposited their newfound wealth and went about the business of raising their 5 children. But the big cleansing product company was too institutionalized to bother with a sales force of young women that demanded personal attention and very special know-how. After 2 or 3 years, its directors gave the company back to Mervyn and Beryl, saying they couldn't be bothered. So Mervyn and Beryl got the 5 million rand and their company back. They're now in the process of expanding their product overseas. Mervyn and Beryl Nyland and their 5 fine children are among the nicest people we know. Examine what you do every day. There are more opportunities presently lurking in your present work, regardless of what that work may be, than you could develop in a lifetime. If you're a janitor, can you make a better broom or mop, a cleaning product? What do you see as you go about your work that could stand improvement? How can you multiply your service? It's often the multiplication of what we do that is the key to increasing our service rewards factor. Once my radio program was heard on one radio station in the United States. As I write this, my daily commentary, Our Changing World, is heard on hundreds of radio stations throughout the United States, Canada, Mexico, Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, South Africa, the Bahamas, and dozens of other places. Now, instead of talking only with the radio listeners in one market area, I talk to them in more than 1,000. Take what you do, what you most enjoy doing, and find a way to multiply it. You needn't hurry. A slow, steady growth is best. If you work at a salaried job, what is it about your work, some facet of your work, that can be developed into a multiplied service? What do you know that others need and want to know? What's your hobby? Think, but think with a pen and pad of paper. Keep paper with you or near you at all times. You'll want to start writing down your ideas. Remember, your rewards are now and must always be in proportion to your service. Find ways, good, solid, healthy ways to increase your service, and your increased rewards will take care of themselves. What percentage of the people do you believe have this service rewards idea straight in their minds? Would you say 1%? That might be a generous estimate. Yet how many people are familiar with the biblical statement, as ye sow, so shall ye reap? 95%? About that. How many people believe it's literally true in our lives? That is much more than a happy saying from the Bible. That's right, they don't think about it in those terms. But the unbreakable law it describes is at work every moment of every day of our lives, cause and effect. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. He worked all his life, but never had anything to show for it. You ever heard that comment? I have. As a youngster, I heard it often. He apparently achieved a kind of parity between what he was doing for a living and the living it was paying for. His service was limited, and it limited his income. It apparently satisfied him. He did nothing to change it. Our housekeeper once commented that her husband couldn't understand why, no matter how hard he worked, he couldn't get ahead financially. It turned out that he was a mechanic. He worked on one car at a time for 8 hours a day. How much can such work be worth? How much can each customer be charged? Then there's the overhead, the cost of doing business. By the time the mechanic is paid, it's true. It's going to be very difficult for him to get ahead financially. But he chose that line of work. And think of the things he chose not to do before he went to work as a mechanic. Sometimes he chose to drop out of school. He chose not to work out a plan that would result in his owning his own business. Not that that means he would have got ahead financially necessarily. He chose to take the path of least resistance every step of the way, and is apparently quite willing now to work as a mechanic. Mervyn Nyland was a mechanic also. He rebuilt engines, remember? And then began experimenting with ways to keep his hands clean and in good shape physically. Both our housekeeper's husband and Mervyn Nyland reap the harvest their sowing produces. One is poor, the other's a millionaire. I remember an old poem I read as a youngster, gobbling up books looking for answers. It began, I bargained with life for a penny, and life would pay no more. I don't remember the rest, but that's not important. What's important is that life will pay us for what we bargained for, and if we play for peanuts, we're going to have to eat peanuts. How can I multiply my service? How can I multiply my service to those I have chosen of my own free will to serve? That's my task, my responsibility. But I must remember that my rewards all the years of my life will be in exact proportion to my service. If my service is sharply limited, my income will be sharply limited. If I can expand and multiply my service, my harvest will be multiplied accordingly. Service rewards. That's the way it works. We can work with the system or against it, but it remains the same. And it's beautiful when we begin to work with it. It's limitless, really. We're the limiters. We're the governors on the system. If it's held back, we do the holding. Give the people what they want. Give them a quality product, and they'll buy from you. People have needs, and they have wants. Their needs are few. Their wants are limitless. Give them what they need or want, and they will reward you accordingly. Fail to give them what they need or want, and they'll put you out of business. Service rewards. No exceptions.